I made a monster with a challenge rating of 100. Why? Because I could. And it only took me 5 minutes using Wordsmith. And the best part? You can do this and much more. Get a free 7-day trial at sessionzerostudios.com/worldsmith and unlock their full suite of TTRPG generators. Yep, that's a full 7-day trial completely free. That's a whole week of monsters, magic items, and more. Whatever you need, zero burnout. Try it now at sessionzerostudios.com/worldsmith. Save time and make unlimited creations with Worldsmith. Another ad break. Let's be real. Ads are the worst. If you're anything like my wife, you'd rather quit a show entirely than sit through another ad. So why suffer? Just skip them. Join our Patreon at patreon.com/betterdungeonmaster and enjoy ad-free episodes with exclusive patron-only content, all for just $5 a month. Look at you, all fancy with your uninterrupted listening experience. So stop wasting time on ads like this one. Go to patreon.com/betterdungeonmaster and upgrade your listening today.
So to start out this episode, I would like to make a quick announcement. Justin just had his baby. And maybe some of you aren't aware that he was expecting. He is. I think we mentioned it on a couple of Patreon openers in the past. But yeah, he had his baby. We honestly were expecting it in July, so it's a little early. He said that he's doing well. He and his wife, Michaela, they're doing well. But, throw a shout out their way. Regardless, because of that, we will probably be a bit more sporadic with our posting. And by that, I mean, we might miss a week or two, or even more potentially in the next couple of months. Just with, well, you may or may not know, but, having a baby is a big thing, and it takes a lot of time, and he's not going to have a lot of sleep. And also, even if he was going to have a lot of sleep, it's a special time to spend and, be there for the baby, for Michaela. So we're very excited for him, but, keep in mind, there will be these next, couple of months are going to be a bit of a break, if you could say, you could say that. That doesn't mean we won't post at all. We probably will post occasionally, but it'll just be less frequent. Anyway, just wanted to make that announcement. But for today's episode, we're going to be talking about, how it is. Starting a D&D campaign is hard. Restarting a D&D campaign or getting the same group together again oftentimes feels even harder, right? Think about it. When you're starting a D&D campaign fresh, everybody's excited. Everyone's like, oh, this is a new territory, either as a group or whatever, right? But then let's say things get busy or a campaign ends or, I actually thought of this topic because of Justin. Let's say someone has a baby in your group or they're getting married or they get in or they just start dating someone who, they like spending a lot of time around each other and things fizzle out. It happens so often, but then it almost feels harder to restart an old group rather than just starting a new group. And that's a shame because I really do think that should change. And that's what we're going to talk about today is how to restart either a campaign or a group and get it going again. But this is Tanner Wayland. I'm so happy to welcome you to How to Be a Better DM, the show for DMs out there trying to bring their friends together for the best night of that week. I'm so glad that you're here with me. I'm excited for this topic because it's near and dear to my heart after having many wonderful groups. But at the end of the episode, we're going to be, we opened this up for the Patreon members with a little DM rant about trusting yourself. And afterwards, we're going to kind of share a little bit of an encounter. So join the Patreon if you'd be interested in getting that content in an ad-free episode. But for the rest of you, let's jump into it. The first issue within this topic of restarting a group is, how do you actually get a group back together scheduling wise? It kind of reminds me of those heist movies where it's like, some person like Frank Ocean or whatever comes in and sees an old friend and they're like, "You son of a bee, where you been?" That kind of thing. It almost feels like you have to like get the gang back together and you have to go find them wherever they're at. It almost feels just as impossible too, but it doesn't have to be. My recommendation, if you want to get a group back together, unless everyone suddenly just has the time to just do anything, which is more and more rare as people get more stuff going on, my suggestion is to start small. I don't know if you've ever read the book or heard of the book, Atomic Habits. Sorry. So it's something I've been reading, and I think the basic premise of it is really fascinating because, it's in the title, Atomic Habits. The idea is that you build a bunch of small habits that become a system that then help you achieve your goals. And I think with setting up a group, focusing on starting with small changes to make it easier for a group to get back together, I think that's key. And you start with yourself, right? You keep in touch with that group, right? It's harder to get them back together if you haven't talked with them in a couple of years. Not impossible, but it's harder. So keep in touch. Send them a text occasionally. Give them a call. And then, beyond that, maybe go out and do some other stuff. But let's say that you don't have much contact. Start small by just sending that text, seeing how they're doing, giving them a call. But then also feel free to look at your own schedule and be like, hey, maybe part of the reason we haven't been meeting or even thinking about meeting is everyone's busy. And how busy am I? And that's where, starting small, you look at your week, maybe even every 2 weeks, every 2-week block, and say, do I even have a night that I have freed up where I could easily, consistently have a D&D night? And if you don't, free it up. Be like, hey, if it's just, if you're single, just rearrange stuff. If you're in a relationship, just speak with your partner and be like, hey, I would like more time I would like to be more productive or purposeful with one night a week or something, or one night every other week. And just to like pursue hobbies, and it doesn't have to be D&D right off the bat, right? You could, it could be a reading night to start out with. It could be you go to the skating rink because you want to get better at skating, whatever it is. But if you free up that one night, then eventually you can be like, okay, let's start using that one night to hang out with those friends from D&D. Just hang out, go for dinner, do, a karaoke night, whatever it is. And then you can grow from there to be like, hey guys, this is a good time. What do you think about starting up the old game, right? We'll just get back into D&D. And then, maybe it doesn't happen initially, but you could suggest a one shot just to change it up, between your other activities. And then that could be like, hey, maybe we don't do it every week. Maybe we do D&D every other week. Maybe we do it once a month and we do it for like 3 hours instead of like an hour and a half or 2, right? Start small, get those kind of initial bridges built out, and then you should be in a good place to just make that next step to meeting more regularly and having a campaign. So then that kind of brings us to the second issue here with restarting a D&D group is, are your players even interested? Because like that first solution about like starting small and freeing up time, things like that kind of assumes that there's interest. They don't always have interest, right? Or you're not always sure that they do. And of course, if they aren't interested, you know how it is. If people aren't interested, they come up with excuses. They make time for the things they're interested in. And it makes sense, right? And that's not like, oh, they should buck up and become interested. No, you have to find out how to help them. And maybe change things. Because if they're not interested, it probably wasn't crazy fun for them. Or maybe they found something else that they're more interested in which case, find a replacement. No one should be forced to play D&D. You can still make time. Like I said, you could meet up for D&D once a month. And then, the other once a month could be like, hey, you go do Topgolf. Go do, you make nachos and watch something. Who knows? But if for the D&D group, the people who are interested, just asking them how they felt about the campaign before it kind of ended, or before you guys stopped meeting. That's a great way to kind of gauge their thoughts and their feelings and see what worked and what didn't. And specifically, I think it's good to be vulnerable and be like, hey, could you please tell me what you felt like the shortfalls were? Because I'm trying to get better as a DM. Being vulnerable like that and saying, hey, I'm trying to improve, and you telling me where it could have been better is exactly what I need to get better as a DM. I think that probably improves your relationship, certainly, but it also opens up the door to learn about like, oh, what in the plot wasn't catching? What could you change now that things are kind of restarting? How could I include specific people better? So ask about the shortfalls. And then ask what, they were excited for that maybe they didn't get to explore further. If that's with their character, great, even better, because you can actually bring that character back and find out what they didn't have a chance to fulfill in their character arcs. Now, if they're not interested in that character, they're like, yeah, whatever. I'm down to play, but I just kind of don't care about this character anymore. Then that's great. You can do a few different things, like I'll talk about in the future, in the next point. But you can have them start the campaign again as a different character, right? There's no need to be tied, because you could then put that other old character that they weren't necessarily super interested in. You can do something with them, since they're not technically dead. You can put them later on in the story. It'll be an awesome callback that they'll enjoy, regardless of whether or not they had fun playing them at the end. And then, of course, if they like the campaign, just start it. If they didn't necessarily love that one, but they don't want to commit to a big old campaign that's different, maybe you just do a mini campaign, right? Where you're like, hey, we're going to do mini arcs. We'll start with this one. I'm expecting 10 to 15 meetings, and then that's the whole adventure. That can feel like it feels more manageable for someone who's like, oh, I'm not sure about committing to a long campaign that might not get finished again, right? So that's an important way to deal with, player interest in restarting. But I think this third issue to consider is more practical. It's more like, hey, let's say that they don't want to start a new campaign, or you don't, and the players are fine with picking up in the same campaign. How do you restart when it's been a long period of time, right? You can't be like, oh, what happened last time? Oh, right, we were halfway through this combat. Okay, I think it's your turn. If it's been a long time, no one cares to start like that, right? Just pick up right where you left off. And second, it's not the most exciting, because in many ways, much like a book or a movie, a campaign, a lot of its energy comes from the initial thrust, the first episode, the first session. And that's why, a lot like TV shows, I remember watching the first episode of The Walking Dead, and it practically scarred me. It just so intense. Like, me and my cousin and my older brother, we were all just watching it, and it ended. And if you don't know about The Walking Dead, zombie show, right? But it ends with the main character. I believe his name's Rick. I haven't watched that show in forever. But I think he ends up in a tank, just swarmed by zombies. Like, he's inside, locked inside, and it's swarmed by a bunch of zombies, and there's like an overhead shot that pans out. And that's where it ends after like a pretty stressful episode leading up to that. And like we were so shocked that it kind of carried us on to watch, like keep watching, even though that first episode was easily like the most intense for a bit at least, right? And that's true for like I've been saying, for restarting a campaign, it's gotta feel as hot, as energetic as an actual real start to a new campaign. So if you're picking up the same campaign, treat it like a fresh start from around where you were when you ended. What does that mean? So one, be willing to make it more cinematic. So let's say that you need to kind of freshen up some of the ideas from before. Maybe you need to remind them of the big bad. Maybe you actually have some cinematic moments where you're like, okay, we open up on a tower. And outside of that tower, you see a little bird flitting through the air. But then you see past the bird as it flies past a high window in the tower, a couple green eyes. You kind of could jump to the big bad's perspective, looking out from the tower. And you can actually like have some exposition, some little cutaway scenes to help you, jump into it, much like you would with a first session, right? You can also almost reintroduce the characters. And this kind of leads into the second point. I would reconsider where exactly the party is. Like if they're in the middle of the dungeon, unless you had a really cool idea for that dungeon, maybe you just jump ahead a little bit. Oh, they finished the dungeon. Great. Hooray. Or maybe it's like, oh, they're actually a town away because something happened, and they have to make it back to the dungeon. But you're like, oh, they actually found out they didn't need what was there right now. They can go back later. My point is, skip to the part that's exciting, or skip to the part that kind of gives you a clean enough start to where players don't feel like they have to, just pick up the pieces and figure out where they were. Just start wherever is cleanest. So yeah, it could be a town over. It could be that the party split up, and then that first, restarting episode is, how everyone gets back together. And it's been a few months for them too, or a year for them. Maybe it's the same amount of time that you guys have been apart as real friends. Whatever it is, when you're picking up the same campaign, you want to start from the best place possible for a story perspective, for a player interest perspective, and just for just a clean, fresh start. So, change things. Be willing to be like, okay, that thing that you were highly focused on, you got it in the dungeon, and now this is, a month later. You're licking your wounds. Things are better. But your party's ready to go. Feel free to be flexible with that starting situation with restarting a campaign. Now, hopefully these ideas for, getting the gang back together, finding out if they're interested in playing again, / making it more interesting when they play again, and even how to restart the campaign. Hopefully these have been helpful. Because like I said, restarting feels a lot harder than actually just starting a new campaign with new people. But it can be done. And in fact, it's really great because much like an old relationship that you get to pick up and deepen, I think that, while it's always easy to make new friends, reconnecting with old friends, there's a kind of depth there that it's nice to take advantage of and to enjoy, because there's a lot of history, and that adds some depth to the experience and to the fun that you have. So hopefully this was helpful. I want to thank you all for listening. My challenge today is to, if you're in a position where you aren't playing right now, but you would like to, think back to the groups you played with. Has there ever been a group that you're like, oh man, I would love to play with them? Or maybe is there an amalgamation of groups, 2 from this one, 2 from another one, that you think would be a really good time? Think about that and make small plans that can start moving you in the direction sorry, in the direction of getting that group back together. But thank you again. I really appreciate it. Justin really appreciates you guys. All you DMs are doing such great work for your friends and family. Honestly, being a DM, it's a service for the world. Let's be honest. What other kind of entertainment or get-togethers allows that people to be, so collaboratively creative and to have so many inside jokes? Almost nothing, right? I also want to thank everyone that's a member of our Discord. If you're not a part of it, you should be. It's awesome. Lots of help for DMs out there. Thank you to our Discord moderators, to our patrons. They truly make this possible, and we hope that as we grow that we can even do more. We've talked multiple times about ideas that we have for providing live critiques for DMing, and also diving deeper into different play styles and showing how they look. Regardless, we hope that it grows, and we appreciate the growth that it already has had. Not sure about our schedule for the next 2 months, as I mentioned, but I'll be talking to you relatively soonish, and we'll be back with another handcrafted episode. But until then, let's go ahead and roll initiative.
Brought to you by Session Zero Studios. For more information, visit sessionzerostudios.com. Time is your most valuable resource, so save time in your D&D prep with the Game Master's Fantasy Toolkit from Roll and Play Press. It helps you with NPC names, plot hooks, setting descriptions, and more. Go to sessionzerostudios.com/rollandplay and use code BETTERDM10 at checkout. Save yourself some precious time with Roll and Play Press.